Good afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon here in Kentucky, and I am honored and very excited to have each of you here to learn with us today. I want you to know this is a collaborative initiative with the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Kentucky branch, and Dr. Sadhir from the University of Kentucky. First, as your host, I'm going to walk you through some of our features and tech components today. You are going to receive a recording of this webinar, the certificate of attendance, and link to the survey. So I'm going to tell you more about that. You are going to work with us in the private chat section of Webinar Geek. And we look forward to hearing from you there and hearing a lot from you. That's where our most loved question and answer section is going to take place. We've got some awesome handouts lined up for you today. There's a PDF of the slides available. The October 2024 Kentucky Dinner Table Project October newsletter, as well as conversation starters for families around media. So we have sent you these handouts in advance. And if you click on the screen right now, you're going to be very welcome to download those as well. So for those of you joining us on your phones, you might need to scroll down a little bit to see that download button. Like all of our webinars, we are recording this one, and we'll be happy to send the recording out to you in an email within the next 5 hours. For those of you that are joining us live, you're also going to get that certificate of attendance, as well as in a separate email, you will receive the recording. There is a brief survey from us that's going to pop up directly after the webinar. It's only going to take you about 2 minutes to complete, and I can promise you that we use every word of the survey that you share with us to continue to develop this webinar program and make it super useful to you. If by chance you missed the survey today or you don't have time to do it, it's going to be emailed to you along with the recording. Here's a little bit for you to know about Operation Parent. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's our mission to love and support parents by providing real-world information, connection, and most importantly, a lot of hope. So we invite you to continue to join us for our next webinar in November. Here's an opportunity to do a quick registration for that November webinar so that you can continue to follow us on this journey. Today's webinar is titled Effective Strategies for Balancing Family and Screen Time. And we also would like for you to just take a super quick pre-survey. There are 10 questions here. We are doing this with the American Academy of Pediatrics to assess your pre-knowledge on the topic. And then we will also do a very quick post-survey. So this enabled us to work collaboratively and also to utilize some grant funding for this initiative. So please take a moment and just complete those 10 questions. That would be excellent. So now it's my distinct honor to start to introduce you to Dr. Sadhir. We had the privilege of working with the Kentucky American Academy of Pediatrics on one of our first webinars, and we can maintain that relationship through the years. Mary York reached out to us from the Kentucky American of Pediatrics with the idea for this collaborative presentation, and we are so thankful that we said yes, because it's been a delight to work with Dr. Sadhir. She is so passionate about how tech and social media are affecting adolescent health, and she's also very busy, so we were glad that we could snag time with her. She's the Chief and Medical Director for the Division of Adolescent Medicine and the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Kentucky, my alma mater. Go Cats. And she, in her work on the day-to-day, she provides comprehensive and patient-centered care for adolescents and young adults in a supportive and super safe environment. We couldn't be more happy to have her here with us today. Thank you, Dr. Sadhir.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and for me to talk about social media and teens. I think it's a really hot topic, and and I'm glad that I'm here. And thank you for everybody who's attending this webinar. I am an adolescent medicine physician. I like to call myself, I'm a teen doc. I've been working with Kentucky Children's Hospitals for the last 10 years, and I did my fellowship from Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. And with AAP, I have been deeply involved with the Kentucky chapter, and I currently serve as the chair of the Adolescent Health Task Force. And I've led several initiatives in Kentucky to educate families and healthcare providers on teen health. And I think this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Having teen kids of my own, I think we are all struggling as parents and as providers. How do we better take care of our patients and teens and our children and help them navigate this digital world? So for my talk today, I think I'd like to take some time and spend some time talk about our current landscape. I will share some data of some of the studies that have been done through Common Sense Media and the Digital Lab. I'll share some of the health risks that are associated with technology and social media use, and really talk about some solutions. I think I like to take this opportunity to focus on finding more solutions, more of a solution-oriented discussions, and really kind of understand a bi-directional relationship with social media use. I think, and acknowledging that, yes, there are certain challenges, but there are also opportunities for us to navigate this and for us to really empower our youth and our parents and caregivers as to how we can best use social media that allows for more meaningful connections, for more education, and for creative expression. I will be discussing the AAP resources. We have lots of AAP resources, which includes the Family Media Plan. There's a phone readiness questionnaire and a lot of handouts and tools around conversations. So here we are. This is a study from the Pew Research Center. As you can see, the social media use in teens. I think the most common apps that are used by teens include YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram. And I think over the years, in the last decade, we have seen that teens are online almost constantly. I recall doing this talk around media and technology almost about a decade ago. And I think a lot of the times we noticed that, it was mostly like several times a day, just a few percentages of kids were online almost constantly. But now pretty much our teens are online several times a day and almost constantly. And I think looking at smartphones, there are the constant companions. Teens are getting a lot of notifications on phone. One of the research studies show that they are getting as high as 500 notifications a day. They are using a phone during the school hours, about 43 minutes on an average, but could be anywhere from an hour to 6.5 hours. A lot of the apps that they're using in school is around social media, gaming, and YouTube's. And one of the challenges that I see in my day-to-day practice is the sleep difficulties. Teens are online at night. They're not able to fall asleep. And because they're online, they're on TikTok or doing something else. And even the research that was done showed that I think pretty much a lot of the teens are spending on an average of 20 minutes to max 5 hours per night on school nights. So there's the smartphones are the constant companion, and it's part of the day-to-day life. And I think we do need to acknowledge that it does serve an important purpose. I think during pandemic, social media and technology really allowed for a lot of connections. I think it was a great source of support for teens and for adults. And when we look at this survey, this was a report that came out recently through Common Sense Media. This is what youth are sharing, that they feel like with social media use, they're getting support or advice when needed. 60% of the kids have reported feeling less alone. They feel like it allows for expressing creatively, and they feel like they're getting inspiration from others. And there are many other positive uses around social media. It serves a purpose around entertainment, having fun, communicating with friends. They use it to relax or unwind when stressed. It is reducing boredom or killing time when it's like I don't have anything to do. So it's like you get on social media and you get to watching videos. It is allows for connection to people, and they're able to share their experiences, interests, or identities. They try to cheer themselves when feeling down. I know there are a lot of YouTube shorts, Instagram reels that teens are watching, and that's true for adults too. I think we all can find ourselves that we also use social media for this purpose. um, there are other opportunities are around information seeking, connection with families, learning about professional or academic opportunities, and also about keeping up with certain influencers or creators. And when we look at the introduction to the media use, I think this is really interesting to note. This was a survey that was done through the Digital Wellness Lab, where they had surveyed 1,500 adolescents and found that a lot of the teens reported that they were introduced to media when they were less than 9 years of age, and the most common platform was YouTube. So younger kids everybody knows YouTube. And as they're getting older, they are being introduced to other social media apps, including Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And TikTok is kind of more for older teens, that when they were introduced to it. But I think TikTok, we're also seeing for the younger teens that they know a whole lot about TikTok. When teens were asked about their experiences on different social media platforms, and what's really interesting to note that majority of those teens had no negative experiences on the messages, on short videos, stories, and search, which is really interesting. I think sometimes we see that everything is negative on social media. However, on this particular survey, I think majority of the teens didn't have any negative experiences on the social media platform. And what's interesting is, of those who did report some negative experiences, teens have tried to solve that problem on their own. And they know how to navigate those negative experiences. And what they reported was they would block an account or report an account. They would report a content. But what's interesting is that very few percentage of the teens were informing their parent or family members, or even informing their school staff members. And this is really an important point to highlight. And this is where we really need to talk more about communication and conversations, that teens are navigating these negative experiences online. They're trying to problem solve themselves. They're trying to do their best, and they're hesitating to really communicate to the adult caregivers or providers. And I do encounter this in my clinical practice too, when I'm talking about, if something happens online, somebody said something, do you go to somebody or talk to anybody? And the responses I get is, I don't. I just try to block it on my own. I just delete the account. But I don't really talk to my parents. And when I ask them why you don't talk to them, the response I get is, well, I worry about my phone being taken away. I worry about that I will get grounded, or my parents or caregivers may feel like somehow it was my fault. And so sometimes they're very reluctant in not being able to communicate or let somebody know about these negative experiences. I think teens, they feel like, because we talk so much about sometimes social media is so bad, and if they're experiencing negative experiences, it's their fault. Or the idea is that we should just completely cut out. And that's not what teens are almost wanting. I think it is, they worry about, if my phone is taken away, I won't be able to talk to my friends. And And it's the positive things that it's serving, it's kind of taken away. So they often try to not really communicate about some of the negative experiences they might be having, but they try to navigate on their own. And this is what the survey kind of has highlighted, and something for us to pay attention. And a lot of times these negative experiences that they are feeling or experiencing is coming from strangers. The negative experiences are coming majority from strangers, but it's also coming from people they know, people from family, or people who are friends with them, are sort of causing some of those negative experiences online for them. And when we look at their media use, then this kind of highlights some of the difficult experiences or the challenges that teens are facing right now. And this is where we really need to start exploring, boundaries, and how do we create that balance. I think teens are struggling with kind of time limits. And some things we see more for young adults. This is a survey kind of comparing our teens in the ages of 14 to 17 and then 18 to 22. As you can see, around 40% of our young teens have reported that they can't control use or end using it for a prolonged period of time. It is taking their time away from other activities, such as spending time with friends, exercise, or other offline interests. And again, 40% have acknowledged that they have noticed reduced attention span or ability to concentrate at school or when reading. About 35% of teens reported that interferes with sleep. And close to 50% of the 18 to 22-year-olds have acknowledged that the media use interferes with sleep. And 70%, I think 70 to 75% of our teens and young adults are reporting that they reach for social media when bored. And this is where it's important to look at the emotional connections that they have with social media. And this is kind of highlights that the kind of the the whole positive and the negative, and kind of that bi-directional relationship that we have with the media, to look at this as a whole. So I think these are the challenges that our teens are facing around time limit, around distractions, and how it is impacting their sleep and ability to concentrate in school. And it is becoming a source of a sort of an emotional support for them. Looking at cyberbullying victimization rate, this is a great resource for anyone who is interested. It is through cyberbullying.org. A lot of great information around cyberbullying and the current state of cyberbullying, and a lot of information about handouts and what to do and how to address cyberbullying. Here, I just wanted to kind of highlight the cyberbullying victimization rate in this study. This was a study done by Pachkin and Hinduja last year, and they kind of did a systemic review of around 13 studies looking at victimization rates. And here you can see that a lifetime cyberbullying victimization rate on an average is close to 30%. So 30% of the teens will sort of experience cyberbullying. And for 30-day, close to 13% may experience some form of cyberbullying. So it's something that we really need to take seriously. And then we all know the impact on health and well-being. Studies have shown that cyberbullying can result in depression, suicidality, anxiety, substance misuse and use, self-harm, contribute to low self-esteem, peer problems, can create a lot of distress and stress, a lot of loneliness, can lead to hostility and aggression, and can really interfere with overall life satisfaction. And I think body image and eating disorders is one of the concerns that I'm also facing as a clinician. We've seen a pretty big increase in number of teens presenting with eating disorders. The current prevalence of eating disorders is around 6% to 8% of adolescents. And what we are also seeing that kids are presenting pretty early on, as young as 12 years of age. And we've seen a lot of increase in eating disorders in kids who live in a larger body or have a higher weight. And these kids are developing all kinds of eating disorders. And I think with social media, there is a concern around how the type of information or the type of feeds you're seeing could influence those body image concerns, lead to some disordered eating through social comparison, then unfit idealization, and self-objectification. We do know that female gender, high BMI, and a pre-existing body image concerns are risk factors. However, we are seeing eating disorders across all sexes and genders, and across all racial and ethnic, and across all socio-demographic, across all socioeconomic range. So I think it's really important that to kind of acknowledge this, and I hear this frequently from teens. They're watching these videos on TikTok or other platform, which is about body image and how that really impacts how they feel about themselves. However, on the other hand, we do know that social media literacy and body appreciation are protective factors. If you really work collaboratively through on the social media platforms and really work on literacy and work on navigating some of those reels, and have a way to stop those feeds and just focus on more body diversity, body appreciation, I think those things can really make a big difference. Just a word around the problematic internet use, or we call it as a problematic interactive media use. I think this is a concern that we do have around social media use. I think problematic internet use, by definition, it's risky, excessive, or impulsive use, leading to adverse consequences, including physical, emotional, social, or functional impairment. And then with a lot of the work around Dr. Rich is around problematic interactive media use. These are the behaviors characterized by compulsive use, increasing tolerance, negative reaction when removed from screen, resulting in impairment in physical, mental, cognitive function. And under this, I think the common presentation that we're seeing is around gaming, excessive social media use, or watching a lot of pornography and information seeking. I think one of the things we want to not call this as an addiction, because it is more of, social media technology is really part of our lives. I think it becomes a problem when it start interfering with other day-to-day activities, with other and creates a lot of health and other functional impairments. So I think one has to be careful about calling it as an addiction. I think it is more of recognizing that it's when it's impacting our overall health and functionality to call it a more problematic. And this is what the research in the US has been focused on calling it as a more problematic. However, in other countries, I think they have done more studies around the lines of more internet addiction. But in US, I think we are kind of more focused on trying to understand this a little bit more in a more comprehensive way, and kind of not really call it as an addiction as such. Because it's, I think one thing is important to recognize, that people are hooked onto social media, internet. It's because they're on this habit forming feeds that they're getting on. And there's a lot of other vulnerable factors that could play a role as to why they are using technology all the time. So the risk factors for someone developing a problematic internet use or PIMU, there are certain pre-existing conditions that can include ADHD, anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, social anxiety, or oppositional defiance behaviors, or substance use. And as a result, some of the kids may have functional impairment that may include school avoidance, declining academic performance. They can have poor friend and family relationships, isolation, or aggression. And it can also manifest as physical symptoms, which I see quite often as sleep disturbances, fatigue, headaches, vision problems. They can have musculoskeletal problems and poor nutritional health that can lead to weight gain and weight loss. So with all the, the health outcomes that that I kind of talked about, it really becomes important that we start talking about as parents, as caregivers, and as a healthcare providers to start having these conversations with our teens on how to create healthy digital habits. Because I think taking away access or blocking it completely from their lives, I think may not give us what we are trying to achieve here. And I think we really have to be carefully navigating the social media environment. So, just looking at what we have and what teens are saying about family rules, just kind of wanted to highlight this survey that was done for 13 to 17-year-olds. And what's interesting is to see the difference between what male teens are reporting versus females. About 40% of females reported in that survey that they didn't have any rules as compared to 25% of males. And there were more more males reported having rules on their media use, which included content, or they were not allowed to use in certain places, certain apps that they couldn't use, or times they couldn't use, or they had some total time limit. So I think these are the common family rules that I think we all as families and parents can acknowledge that we try to do our best in terms of enforcing those rules to the best extent possible. So when we talk about this balance, it is hard, it is challenging, and it is often comes with a lot of I would say it's a journey. There's no right or wrong. I think it's a journey, and it is very individual. I think each different family have different challenges, and so I think we want to move away from this idea that there is a time limit for screens. I think the screen time used to be the older recommendations. I think we've moved past along that time because screens is everywhere. Teens are using screen for a lot of things, and so we can't just limit it to a screen time. I think what it comes down to that each family kind of considers different things around boundaries and communication and trying to find that balance, and as parents and caregivers to really model healthy digital habits. And I think this is where we all as adults have to take a moment to reflect on ourselves, reflect on our own digital use, and kind of understand, like, where are we coming from? What purpose is social media is serving for us? Because we can't really tell a teenager not to use social media or not to use when they are bored, when we are using those things for ourselves. I think we have to acknowledge what are our sort of challenges with technology, and we have to be the first person to model those healthy digital habits, and for us to then inform our teens and our kids as to what those boundaries are, and keep the communication going. One of the things I do say, I am a digital naive person, but the generation now is a digital native. I think we have to acknowledge as adults that we may not know a lot of those things, and teens and children might know more, or they are experiencing different things. And it's really important for us to acknowledge that we may not know everything, but how can we as a parent and a teen kind of work on this together, have those communication, and also learn from each other. I think that open and frequent communication is extremely important. So I'll share this video from the AAP. It talks about our family media plan.
What is media? It's television, smartphones, video games, apps, social media, smart speakers, and any other technology connected to the internet, whether at home or at school. A family media plan is a personalized agreement that can help your family find balance, both online and off. The plan provides age-based tips to help you communicate about media and resources to make the plan work for your family. To create your plan, simply start by entering some information about your family. Next, select from a list of 8 specific priorities that matter most to you and your family. You can choose them all or just a few. Then, save your plan and refer to it whenever you need to. Get started today.
All right, so the family media plan is a great resource. I tried it myself, very easy to use. All you have to do is just put the name of each family member and kind of navigate through some of the different things that you want for your family. So I'll share some of the examples on things that you can do at home just to start with. The screen-free zones is a really good way to start. One of the things to do is, during dinner time or meal times at home or restaurants. I think it's very common. I think we see that often, that when families are eating dinner together, everybody has their phone and everybody's on their phone. There's not a lot of conversation going on, and even the conversation is happening through text messaging. I think those are the times where the family's rules could be around, well, we're going to sit together and eat, not have any phones, no notification. And that also includes for parents. I know as parents, we have busy life, we have busy work. We also get notification from work. And I think this is also an opportunity for us to say, when it's a dinner time, when I'm spending time with my kid or a teen, that's where I'm going to put the phone away, because that's time, that's our family time. And that can be a great way to connect while we are having these meaningful conversations and eating dinner or meals, because it's also important from a nutrition standpoint. I think we do a lot of mindless eating. We're not paying attention to the food. We're not paying attention to meals. We're not enjoying our meals. We're so busy in the chatter on the phone or watching something. And I think having no screen around meals and sitting together as a family can really, really make a huge difference. And studies have shown that having family dinners can have a direct impact on the mental health of teens. The other place for the screen-free zone could be bedrooms. One of sometimes I do talk to families about having no TV in the bedroom, as an example. But I know even if we don't have TV, there will be some other gadgets, iPad or phones. I think this is where the conversation could be around, how about as a family, we put our phone away in a common place, away from bedrooms, and a common charging zone. I think this can also be good for parents. Well, you're not getting notifications or you're not being awakened by, other things. At the same time, everybody gets a good night's sleep. I think we all deserve that, and teens need it all the more. I mean, they need 8 to 9 hours of sleep at night. I think notifications are a challenge. And obviously, if you're going to have a phone with you all the time, you are going to be distracted. You're going to be spending time doom scrolling and just not be able to sleep on time. One of the challenges, the phone serves as an alarm clock, and that's okay. I think some of those things could be a discussion point. Do we need to figure out something else for an alarm clock? Or even if it's going to be a phone that we need to use, could we turn off our notifications? Can we turn on the night mode so that we are not getting disturbed by all these notifications and all of those things, and put the phone away in our sleeping area? Driving, very important. Unfortunately, I do see sometimes when driving, people are on phone, they're talking or trying to text. Happens for adults, and same thing for teens. I think having those conversations that when it's driving, no texting, no checking on anything on phone, and setting those examples is really important. Homework. At work, I think we like to have multiple screens. So kind of could we, have a conversation on cutting down on screens? Like, just if you're working on your school laptop, make sure the TV is turned off, the phone is kept away, and just focus on the work. There's just one screen at a time. Or if you're using the phone, because it's also common for teens to use their phone as they're chatting with their friends or trying to do their homework, to make sure they're not getting on other social media, they're turning off the notifications on that and just focus on doing the homework. And try to have a common place if possible, so that some of the monitoring can also happen, especially for our younger teens who may need some supervision around and structure around homework. Some conversations could be around, could we have some ways that during school days, maybe we minimize the social media use or minimize other uses, but maybe we can choose weekends as a way to do and engage. There could be some things around screen-free days. I think that that's a great way, even for adults, us, having no screen, just stay away, just go out, engage in outdoor activities, and plan for screen-free days can be a really way to connect as a family and to disconnect from the online world. Infants and toddlers in strollers, I think this is really important because I do see sometimes, when we are the infants and we're going for infants, if parents as parents are going out, try to minimize the phone use and try to interact with the kids more, because that's how the development is impacted. And trying to not give them the phone as a means of distraction or put them on the YouTube or anything. I think we really need to minimize that. I think this could be a place where the parents and the toddlers are actively engaging. Obviously, there will be some circumstances, but I think that face-to-face interaction and for infants and toddlers to interact with the environment is really, really important for their development. Other opportunities is when riding to and from school is an example where to minimize phone use. This is also an opportunity for parents to talk to the teens about their day, how things are going, and just have those rules, just this is a 15-minute ride or 20-minute ride. Let's just not be on phone. Let's discuss about the school. Let's discuss about or share about our day. Can be a good way to kind of have those things set up. Other things to consider could be around, not to have social media until the age of 13 or older. I think teen brain is still developing, and I think it is good to kind of delay the use of social media and to also consider the overall maturity of the teen, their developmental stage, and what structure is going to be in place. The reality is that the social media, the online world is almost like driving a car or swimming lessons, or, we just don't we don't just put the kid in the water and expect them to swim, right? We give them the skills, we give them the tools, we go through this graduated learning process and different stages of learning around swimming and even with driving. And so I think having some structure in place, ongoing discussion, recognizing the developmental stage of the kid, I think is really important. And so I think one of the things could be, instead of an elementary age kid, I think could we delay giving access to teens and for at least around social media. Have a plan about devices at school. That's another lot of an important topic for discussion. What can schools do? What communities can do about the devices at school? I think those are important discussion to have. Again, turn off notifications on all apps, because it is a huge distraction. Other things to kind of do is try to have more family time, having family movie nights, playing games or watch videos together, see what the kids are doing, and have just play with them, even if you don't know what it is. Just stay with them and just see what they're watching, and kind of encourage them and talk about the content that they're watching, what is about, what they're learning from it. What purpose is it serving? I think that's a really way to engage our teens. Maybe talk about prioritize creative and educational and pro-social and positive media. When you have new video games coming, you can review those new video games. And Common Sense Media has a great way to analyze the video games, whether it's appropriate or not. Parental controls can be another way to monitor the use. But what's really important, we can have all this technology that can set time limits, can help with content settings, privacy. But at the same time, it's also important to have this ongoing conversation too. And having this parental control can be around shared decision making and having this upfront. Okay, we're going to start using this. Let me take a look at your content. Let's have some time limits. These are the rules. This is how we're going to monitor, and kind of really navigate on a regular basis and have different touch points. I think I want to share that recently Instagram, they created a Instagram teen account, which is a really important step towards creating more teen-friendly social media apps, because we really need to be careful around the content. And so it was good to see that there's going to be more teen-friendly social media accounts. And I think there's some information out there about that. Talk frequently, very important, because as the surveys pointed out, that teens are not coming to us. Teens are not talking as much. And I think this is an area where we can really make an impact for us to have an open-ended conversation, talk about digital citizenship, help and understand their emotional connection to media, and help them navigate those challenges. I think we really need to create a sense of safety for them, that they feel comfortable coming to you as a parent and caregiver and talking about what they're experiencing. Instead of just them trying to problem solve on their own and kind of being alone on their own. I think that really creates more vulnerability for them. I'm going to emphasize being a good digital role model is extremely important. I think we have to be aware of our own digital habits, try to be more present and not distracted. I think really important to engage in active listening. When our teens are talking to us, I think it's really all the more important that we put away all our gadgets and actually engage in listening. And being present as to what conversations they're having, what are the things they're talking to us about, and try to do more face-to-face time. I think that's crucial, and try to be available for them. I think that does become important, and I think one of the teens sort of had mentioned that we are impressionable teens. We observe what adults do, and we know even whether we engage or not, we're observing adults. We see how adults are behaving, responding. There's a lot of nonverbal communication that they observe, and teens oftentimes they will open up to you when they feel like we are not judging them as adults. We are giving them a safe space, and we're engaging with them. We are there for them. We are listening to them, and we're giving them the opportunity to just be autonomous and include them in those decision making. So just other great resources that I want to share. There are some watch webinars on the family tech around digital parenting. And kind of we talked about a little bit around the time limits, bedtime shutdowns, homework time, device time. I think these are all different ways that if parents can use to set some boundaries. I do want to mention about cell phone use. This is a really great survey, and I think I'm so glad that we have this survey, because I think one of the questions we always get is, when is a good time for my child to have a phone? I think, and it's a hard question. I think it's really hard because there's this purpose that it serves. I think we all want to be connected to our kids, but at the same time, we also worry about all these other things that are going on, and especially when the things that they're exposed to. So this can be a really good tool. This is a 10-question tool. It helps to gauge your child's behavior, developmental maturity, and your family values, and it can really provide recommendations. So when you answer those questions at the end of that survey, it's going to kind of give you a recommendation whether your child is ready, almost ready, or not yet ready. And this is a QR code that you can access and really fill out. It's very easy to do. So as a take home, a couple of things I want to highlight. What can you do as parents? So one of the most important thing to take home is take a look at the family media plan. This family media plan is a really, really great resource. This is, you can do it online, it's free. And this is where you can do it as a family. And it does kind of, you have the ability to select different things that you want to work on. Let's say as a family, you want to work on screen-free zones. So you can click on that screen-free zones and it gives you a lot of options. What is one behavior that you want to change? And how is a family going to make that change? And so you just have to put the name of your family members, their age, and select different things that you want to work on. I think that can be a really great tool to start working as a family. The most important thing, and that I always talk about, is conversations, and really having an open and honest conversation with your kids about their technology and media use. And there's a lot of resources on the AAP Center of Excellence around conversation starters, and a lot of information about how to talk to kids less than 10 years of age. I think this is important. I think, those conversations are crucial. And it's important to have those conversations at a time where you're not distracted or doing other things. It really has to be intentional. And some of the times that you can have those conversations is, as I mentioned before, around family dinner time. You can have those conversations when you are driving with them. And when your child is sharing something about their school or something they experienced online, to try to listen to them and have those meaningful conversations. What we don't want to do is a rushed conversation when either we are too busy doing so many other things, or we just had a conflict, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna talk to you, because that doesn't help. And then, when the child's friends are around, I think we need to minimize or not have those conversations. So just having having a better space and intentions around those conversations is important, and a lot of resources are available on that. So what can schools and communities do? I think this is really an important topic, and here are some of our suggestions as a pediatrician and as a healthcare provider. I think it's really important that we look at some shared decision making around this issue. I know some states are looking at different laws and schools are looking at different policies. What we do know from a research perspective is that there are some studies that have shown that not having phone in schools could improve academic performance, although other studies have shown there's not much impact. We don't have any studies done in US. A lot of those studies have been done in other countries. So yes, we do need more studies looking at school policies and how it's going to impact overall educational learning and mental health and behavioral health. So that's why it just becomes important that when we're talking about different policies, it just has to be a shared decision making that involves caregivers, students, teachers, school mental health providers, the school nurses, and school health staff. And it's also important to include youth voices in that discussion. And I think the focus really has to be around teen safety, their academic performance. It's important to set some clear expectations around when and where phones can be used, and kind of keeping in mind that we want to use technology for educational purposes, for healthcare needs, and to have meaningful connections. These are the resources, and really helpful resources around healthy children, Digital Wellness Lab, cyberbullying, and common sense media. And I like to share these QR codes So please check those resources out. And this is my information, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Sadhir. Excellent presentation. So much information and so many resources. Would you like to say a word or two about the Operation Parent Handbook before we go to the next slide?
Absolutely. So I just want to highlight this parent handbook is a great resource. And I'm so glad that they have put together a lot of resources for parents on different, for elementary age group and middle and high. So I will highly recommend utilizing those resources and the handbook. And it's a lot of information out there.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. We try and take a deep dive, especially on this tech topic, because we know so many families are struggling with tech overuse, social media and gaming, as well as screen time. And on a more serious note, the sexting and pornography types of things that teens are exposed to. So we're working on keeping our handbooks very, very current, and we take deep dives on all the tech topics that are impacting families. So I wanted to share a resource that we discovered at the Kentucky Prevention Conference last week. So this is the dinnertableproject.org. If you wanted to go to that website, you can check out, just like the handout that we shared with you, the October newsletter. There's a monthly newsletter there that you can utilize to get creative ideas around your dinner table to enhance the conversation. Maybe if you're like our family, adjust some habits where phones might have creeped into the dinner table or some of those kind of things. This gives you really creative ideas of how to be together at the dinner table, put your phones in a basket, put your devices away, use a creative recipe, cook together. There's lots of ideas. And so this is out of a regional prevention center concept. And there's lots of resources up on their website, also helping you think about developing your assets as a family, looking at the risk and most importantly, the protective factors that can shield your families from difficult situations, as well as just overall strengthen, the family dynamic and time together around that important dinner table. So we've got several questions in and a few more on the way, but now's the perfect time to put in your question if you have not already. We're also going to ask you in just a moment to take the post survey, to take a few minutes and do that. So we wanted to let you know that Operation Handbooks are a valuable resource for your family. It's super affordable. We have several editions, and you can find an elementary, middle, and high, as well as Spanish editions. And as I mentioned, they are for parents, grandparents, foster parents, caregivers. Anyone who is working with teens and adolescents will find value and up-to-date information about the current culture and how to work with your teens and support them in the best way possible. I wanted to let you know that we also have a TNT drug prevention event. So this is everything you could possibly need to put a TNT training program on in your community. We just had the great opportunity to do this in our county a couple weeks back, and we brought together over 400 parents and middle school students. We went over drug facts, we taught them drug facts, and we also worked on drug refusal skills, got them very accurate, good information, and in a very fun way. So we know prevention professionals, parents all across the country are very busy. And so we tried to think of everything you would need to have a successful drug education program in your communities. And you can use the QR code to learn more. Allie and Carol, my teammates, are also available to tell you how churches, schools, drug-free coalitions all across the country are using our products in a very varied way in a variety of ways. And so Allie and Carol could talk to you at depth if you're interested in handbooks or TNT program. And then, as always, we invite you to join our vibrant and growing social media community. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we invite you to share that with your community. We're always trying to put out things that are easily to share and get parent support on things that they're dealing with, substance use related, and also just enhancing the relationship with our teens. So if you were with us in the beginning, you had the opportunity to do the quick registration for the November webinar. So if you haven't yet and you'd like to stick with us for November, I just invite you to do that. It's very quick registration in the Webinar Geek system. So you can join us as we talk with Tess Rowland and discussing how impaired driving with kids and teens, that we need to educate teens earlier and earlier with some strategies to be safe on the roads in a lot of different ways. Okay, so we're going to ask you to, this is something new if you've been on a lot of our webinars, but take a few minutes and answer the post-survey questions. We're super excited to see what you've learned today. I know I've learned a lot. And we're going to start the Q&A while you guys are working on your finishing up that survey. Okay, Dr. Sadhir, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, so since we know that our teens are super afraid of getting their phones taken away, how can we respond when there are issues that come up with the phones and protect that relationship, make sure they continue to feel safe coming to us? And I guess long story short, don't freak out, just be with them. And how can we manage that?
And that's a great question. I think it's a challenge as a parent, right? As we are trying to protect our kids. And at the same time, I think when something happens to them or they're experiencing negative experiences, our first is going to be like, okay, let's just, keep them safe and take it away. I think we have to, when they're coming to us, I think have a conversation. Okay, tell me more about what's going on. And maybe have a conversation, I'm not going to take your phone away. Let's just talk about it. I want you to share what's going on and what kind of experiences are you having. And I would like to learn more about it. And know that I'm here to support you. I'm here to make sure that you feel safe. With the idea that and understanding that, yes, this phone is important. I know this is important for you to connect with your friends, but I also want to make sure that you are also feeling safe and not experiencing the negative things, or it's creating an emotional or a mental health issues. So I think starting that conversation that you're here to support them, you're not here to take your phone away. I think just having that open and honest conversation with them. And I think it's a process, right? So this is a conversation that we can have to begin with when we are talking about access of social media, boundaries, setting boundaries there. And just continue to have those conversations. It may not happen the first time, but it's just an ongoing thing that we as parents and caregivers can continue to have that open conversation around that.
That's right. Stick in there, even in the tough moments, right?
Yeah, and they're listening. They're hearing you, yep. Even if it looks like they may not be listening to you, but they are.
Yeah, they always are. And sometimes every now and then you'll get an affirmation on that later that they did hear something that you said.
Yeah.
Can you please confirm when in your clinical practice you might call it problematic use, and then what might shift when you switch to talking to a family about addiction and treatment?
Great question. So we actually have a validated screening tools to screen for problematic problematic internet and risky use behavior survey. So it is called PRIUS, PRIUSS. And that is a validated screening tool. So in my practice, I try to use that screening when I'm when there's a concern about the time that you're spending, sleep difficulties, or engaging in some risk behaviors, that screening tool could help me kind of screen. And I did do some research in my clinical practice during COVID, and I found that we had a pretty high percentages of teen who kind of met that criteria for problematic internet use. And this is where I'm trying to develop more research project looking at what our current prevalence is and what can we do to really try to address this early on, like intervene early. So there is a screening tool that can help identify if we are kind of dealing with a problematic internet use.
That makes sense. If you need to refer an extreme case where someone is addicted and it's interfering with everything in their daily life, what are some of the ways that you refer a patient?
So I think you can start with your primary care providers and having those conversations, or you can also reach out to our clinic, our Adolescent Medicine clinic. And this is an area where it requires your medical providers, your therapists kind of working together and kind of understanding, what's going on, because I think it's multifaceted. I think the internet use, if it's excessive, I think it's really important to take a deeper dive into it. So starting with your primary care providers could be a good way to reach out and have a discussion. Or you can also reach out to our or any adolescent health providers. If you're in Kentucky, we are here, and if you're outside Kentucky, reach out to an adolescent medicine providers who can definitely help navigate some of those concerns.
I love that, and I love that team approach, wrapping around a teen that's struggling with addiction. One of our audience members just reminded us that alarm clocks are not very expensive. And that's a great way to replace and dig into your recommendation to keep the phones out of the bedrooms at night. So we thank our audience member for that great reminder. What's a good way for us as parents to go back and change a rule that we might not have established initially, like putting a phone away at dinner or setting screen-free zones for teens, if they've not had that before and there's some pushback? Do you have some recommendations on how we can move through that smoothly?
Sure. I think it's good to just start the conversation anytime. It's a journey, right? And it's something we navigate. So I think what you could start, the conversation could be around some of the impact that you may be noticing. Let's say you're noticing that you're not having more family time, or you're noticing that the teens are not involved, you're not communicating, or noticing some issues around sleep or other things. I think that could be a good way. Hey, if you're noticing this is what's going on. And you can also acknowledge your use. Maybe you as a parent are not putting your phone away as a family. So having those conversations, I think we would like to start having more family dinners and try to sit down and eat together, because I think it's important for us to do that as a family and talk to the teens about it. What are their thoughts? How do they feel about it? And just come up with some strategies around, hey, let's just give it a try. Let's give it a try, give it away. Let's put it away. Let's just sit down and try to have a dinner and try to have more meaningful conversations. And I think trying to understand, sometimes it can be that we don't want to talk about, a lot of rules and regulations, but really taking the ownership that we want to do it as a family. And that it also involves their input into what are their thoughts about this and why it is important.
Excellent. Give them some choice on how you set it up and making it comfortable for everyone. There really is so much when you can keep the dialogue going at the dinner table, like the conversations are just sort of flowing. You start to learn so much versus like you're rushed with time and you're just finding like you're sitting down and just like drilling the questions at them sometimes when you feel like that time is so limited. And, I would even find myself sometimes telling my husband, like, don't ask any questions. Like, let's just sit and don't like ask a question where they feel like they're being interviewed. Let's be like, let the conversation flow a little bit lighter than that. And And that helped us, a little bit to make it not feel like an interview at the dinner table, I guess.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be an interview. It can be started with us being as a parent, being vulnerable. Hey, I want to spend some time with you. How about we start there? Let's spend time together. Let's see how things are going. Let's discuss about a day. Tell me what you learn. I think just as a way to start those conversations, and try not to have the phones around because it's a distraction. It's a distraction for us as parents. I think we as parents struggle too. Like when we are eating, we're trying to check our emails, we're trying to check our text and notifications. And so until we change our behaviors, we can't really expect our teens to change their behaviors, right?
Great. That's right. It's a very great point. I have, I'm soaking that in. Yes. Okay. So let's see. A parent says, I have a teen who used to engage, but now she's obsessed with her phone. She's motivated to have screen time and Wi-Fi to the point if we want to spend time together, she will do it, to she'll be with us just to get over that so she can get back to her screen. How can I get her less glued to the phone and have more meaningful life experiences?
I think it's, again, starting the conversation. Tell me what's going on online. What is there, what type of activities is she engaging online? Is it about people meeting online? Are we playing a lot of video games? Is it serving a purpose around emotional support? For example, teens do use it as a way to cope with their own stressors. And it does become this ongoing thing about, I'm stressed, I'm going to play online game and something is going to stress me again, then I'm going to go back again. So really trying to understand, tell me more about your experiences here. I'm just trying to understand. I'm not here to take away of this, but I just want to understand where this is coming from. And I like to know more about your online activity and what's going out there. I think that could be a good conversation to start with, but also acknowledge that if this is becoming an impairment, if it is impacting academics, if it is impacting the offline, if your child is not engaging and going out and hanging out with friends and it's always online, I think that's a problem. And this is where you may want to seek some professional help and kind of look at, what might be going on.
Excellent. I think sometimes teens don't have the experience of even gauging their stress levels. So they might not realize how one particular thing is really stressing them out and why that might be, and then just how much better it feels to talk to someone about it. So like that practice of getting them to open up, there may be something bothering them that you're not even tapping into as a parent. And so if you can get them to open up and feel open and safe to process that, you can gain a lot of ground that way. Otherwise, like you said, they're just in that circle of like just soothing, using the phone to soothe the emotional distress. Do you like one app over another for parental controls?
I don't have any particular recommendations. I think there's so many out there. I think the big app is us as parents. I think there are a lot of apps that I think you guys can take a look at it, but I don't have any particular recommendations. My only recommendation would be whatever app you choose, I think still make sure that you're not completely relying on that technology. I think you still want to make sure that you are monitoring and supervising and continue to have those ongoing communication with your child.
Great advice. What's your screen time recommendation for families with children under 5?
Great question. I think that screen time, the actual number, I think we're moving away from that. I think what we are recommending is a balance, right? What purpose is the screen time serving? Like kids, a lot of brain development happens under the age of 5 years. And it's really important for that age to engage in more face-to-face connections, learning from the environment and having more interactions, adult interactions, child interactions. So I think there is no time that it's okay to do 2 hours or 3 hours. I think the more offline interactions we have with the kids, the better it is. And I think, but I also know these online or watching YouTube videos serves a certain purpose in some ways. But I think, again, kind of including the screen times, no screens during meal times. If you're going out with the kids in the playground, just minimize as much as possible. Around bedtimes, I mean, there's so many screen-free zones that we can do, and try to do more offline activities. So I think to the minimum, but there's no number that we can say that this works or not. I think we still need some more research around that. But I think the time is becoming less of significance because how much ingrained that is. I think more offline time than online time is what I would say.
Okay, excellent. Good. So out of everything we've discussed today, is there one thing that you've done in your own home that you felt like paid off the most with the screen use?
One thing that I do?
Yeah, one thing that you do that's paid dividends.
Well, it's still a journey. Well, I, as a parent, I'm also trying.
Yes.
But one of the things we've started doing is around meal times. I think really important, and having the conversation around bedtime. I think putting it away, emphasizing on sleep and emphasizing on nutrition. I think those are the two things that has really helped to try to minimize the use. And in that, it's also my journey too. So that's why I keep emphasizing, reflect on your own habits so that you can serve as a role model for your kids. So these are the two things that we are trying to work as a family to minimize our screens during meals, and just trying to get the kids good sleep and not have cut out the screen time an hour before bedtime.
Yep, that's excellent. As you said in the very beginning, they are watching what we do too, and so we want them to have really great habits as adults. And so managing our own screen time really, I think, pays off as well for our own sleep, and then for them to role model what we're doing. So this is a question that falls right into what we're talking about. How do you handle a parent who wants to be a good role model and loves the ideas of less screens at bed, but parents have another child, maybe parents have another phone or an older child that's on their phone a little bit more at night? How would you suggest balancing that out?
It's a challenge.
Yes.
It is definitely a challenge. I think there's no right or wrong answer here. I think setting boundaries for both of them is important. Again, when it's bedtime, you have to have a time limit that this is going to be out, like the screens have to go away. And I think it's one goal at a time. We can't be perfect in one day. It's a journey. I think trying to come up with small goals, small tasks around cutting out screen time, and really minimizing that use, and knowing that it's a good, yes, we call it as a babysitter, right? It's a distraction. Well, as parents, we're trying to juggle so many things. We're getting chores done. Sometimes this is something that we give it to our kids, just be on screen so that I can get my work done. I think, but kind of, recognizing that, moderation is the key, and just kind of looking at, minimizing as much as possible around the important activities that we do.
I love that. And I think, the more we can show them how it's designed to just keep them wrapped into it, like just keep showing them how the social media, and you think about Netflix, I mean, it's all designed to end the episode right where you just can't hardly not click on the next episode. Like, it's all designed to keep us there. And so continuing to work on our own habits, and then help our teens and, younger children look at things critically, the way they're designed, and the hopes and dreams they have for their lives, and they're not going to remember the game that they played over and over, or being on social media for hours on end. They're going to remember like the special family times and things that are different than that. So you've given us so many resources and so many things to think about. Your presentation was threaded together beautifully, and I think we're all set here to sign off. And the one thing I'd like to leave with parents, and I know you would agree, to just say, you've got this. Parents, like, you are the number one protective factor for your teen, and the fact that you're here today looking at resources, pick out one, and if that doesn't work, then pick out another. Just keep going. You've got this, and you are the number one influence for your teen, and we can make a big stride in how they're using technology. Dr. Sadhir, thank you so much for everything, and we look forward to working together again very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. And I echo what Michelle said. You got this. As parents and caregivers, I think this is a resource to empower you so that we can empower our youth to make the right decisions. So thank you so much for joining this webinar. And thank you so much, Michelle.
Yes, thank you. Talk to you soon.